Welcome to our deep dive into ancient Egypt. Get ready, because we are about to explore some truly mind-boggling ideas about a level of advanced knowledge that challenges conventional history. Our source today is a conversation between Robert Edward Grant and Ben Van Kerkwyk on Robert's YouTube channel. Robert is a researcher focused on ancient mathematics and symbolism, and Ben is an engineer and explorer.
Yeah, this isn't your typical polished documentary, though. It's a raw, unscripted discussion where their passion for uncovering the truth about ancient Egypt just shines through.
And that's what makes it so exciting. You can practically feel their energy as they go back and forth,
Right.
especially when they stumble upon an aha moment. And trust me, you are in for plenty of those. We're not focusing on the typical pyramids and pharaohs today. Instead, we're taking a closer look at two categories of artifacts that suggest an advanced civilization that might even predate ancient Egypt. We're talking incredibly precise hard stone vessels and hidden art and symbolism found within structures like the Great Pyramid.
It really makes you wonder how much we really know about ancient Egypt. What if we've been looking at these ancient structures with the wrong lens this whole time? What if they hold clues to a much more advanced civilization than we ever imagined?
I'm ready to have my mind blown. Let's start with the hard stone vessels. What exactly are we talking about here?
Picture everyday objects, vases, plates, bowls. Except they're crafted from incredibly hard materials like granite and diorite. What's truly remarkable is the precision with which they are made. I'm talking tolerances that rival modern machining. And get this, many of them date back to pre-dynastic times. That's even before 3100 BC.
Before 3100 BC, that's almost unfathomable. Do we have any specific examples of this incredible precision?
Absolutely. One example that ignited this investigation is a specific oblate vase. It's shaped like a flattened sphere, almost like a flying saucer. It has these complex curves and perfect symmetry. When researchers scanned it using modern technology, the results were astounding. The tolerances were down to just a few thousandths of an inch.
Wow, that level of precision is just unheard of for that time period. It makes you wonder if they had access to technology we're only just starting to understand today.
It really does, and it's not just a one-time fluke. There's a collector named Matt Bell who has dozens of these hard stone vessels. Many of them have been scanned, and the results are consistently impressive. Some have walls as thin as 2 millimeters, so thin that you can actually see light passing through them.
Okay, wait a minute. Walls that thin and translucent, that detail has to be significant. Could this translucence suggest they were designed to work with light in some way, maybe even focusing it?
That's a great question, and one that researchers are actively exploring. It certainly lends credence to theories about ancient Egyptians potentially manipulating energy in ways we don't yet understand.
So we've established these vessels were made with incredible precision, but the big question remains, why? What was their function?
You hit the nail on the head. The level of precision strongly suggests a specific purpose. There are some pretty compelling theories out there. One is that they were resonators, perhaps used for healing or sound manipulation. Remember, sound and resonance played a central role in ancient Egyptian culture and rituals.
Think about those magnificent temples with their vast chambers and echoing hallways. It's almost as if they were designed to enhance sound. So how could these vessels fit into that?
Well, imagine these precisely crafted vessels placed strategically within these resonant spaces. They could have been used to amplify or modulate specific frequencies, perhaps even creating healing vibrations or inducing altered states of consciousness.
That's incredible. Are there any other theories about their function?
Another theory, one that Robert finds particularly intriguing, suggests they were components in a much larger unknown system, potentially related to energy generation or manipulation. He draws a connection to Chris Dunn's theories about the Giza power plant, the idea that the pyramids were actually massive energy-generating structures.
So maybe these vessels played a role in harnessing or directing that energy. It's interesting that thousands of these vessels were found beneath the step pyramid of Djuzera. Could that location be a clue to their purpose?
It definitely adds another layer to the mystery. Of course, there's always the possibility they served a ritualistic purpose, perhaps tied to their beliefs about the afterlife. But even then, the precision with which they were made suggests a level of importance beyond mere decoration.
And there's one detail about these vessels I find particularly intriguing. The lug handles. Some of them have handles, but they're oddly shaped and not very practical for carrying. What's the deal with that?
Ben, the engineer in the conversation, speculates they might have been designed for some kind of cam lock system, suggesting they were meant to be connected to something else, almost like components in a larger machine, wouldn't you say?
Lug handles and cam lock systems. This just keeps getting more and more mysterious. It's as if we're dealing with a puzzle with missing pieces. A puzzle that might reveal a completely different understanding of ancient Egyptian technology.
Exactly. The precision of these vessels is mind-boggling. But it begs the question, did this advanced knowledge extend beyond crafting techniques? And this is where the hidden art and symbolism within the pyramids come into play.
These vessels really are fascinating. But you mentioned hidden art and symbolism in the pyramids. What can you tell us about that?
This is where Robert's own personal journey takes center stage. He describes this incredible aha moment when he was examining the sarcophagus in the king's chamber of the Great Pyramid. He found the Alpha Omega symbol etched into the rim.
Wait, the Alpha Omega symbol on the sarcophagus?
Yes, and it wasn't tucked away in some hidden corner either. It was right there in plain sight. This discovery set off a cascade of further exploration.
So what happened next?
Robert and his team began scrutinizing the walls of the king's chamber. Using cutting-edge technology like AI and laser scans, what they found was truly remarkable: hidden petroglyphs depicting zodiac symbols.
Zodiac symbols, like the ones we see in horoscopes today.
Exactly. There was an entire series of them. One that particularly stands out is a striking image of Orion, with Taurus positioned over its throat.
That's pretty powerful imagery. What could it mean?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? But here's where it gets even more intriguing. These petroglyphs actually align with the actual constellations in the sky.
So we're not talking about random doodles here. This suggests a deep understanding of astronomy and a deliberate attempt to encode that knowledge within the pyramid itself.
Precisely. And it's not limited to the king's chamber. They found similar petroglyphs in other pyramids, like Khafre and Menkaure. And in the queen's chamber, they discovered an X-ray-like etching of a man's profile.
An X-ray-like etching. That's pretty advanced for a civilization that supposedly predates modern imaging technology. What's Robert's take on this?
Well, he has a rather bold hypothesis. Robert suggests that the irregular blocks forming the walls of the king's chamber might actually be a coordinate system for specific stars. He proposes that the chamber might function as a stargate.
A stargate? That sounds pretty far out there. Is there any concrete evidence to support that idea? Or is it more of a speculative leap?
It's definitely on the speculative side, and there's no physical evidence to suggest a literal stargate, as we might imagine it from science fiction, but it does raise some intriguing questions about the potential function of the chamber and the advanced astronomical knowledge of the ancient Egyptians.
Okay, let's pause for a second
Right.
and recap what we've learned so far. We've got these incredibly precise hardstone vessels, possibly used for sound manipulation or even energy generation. We've got hidden art and symbolism in the pyramids, suggesting an advanced understanding of astronomy, potentially even hinting at a stargate. And we've got this persistent question: what if we're only scratching the surface of ancient Egyptian knowledge?
Exactly. These seemingly disparate pieces might actually be interconnected, forming a much larger puzzle. And Robert believes that this puzzle connects to a grand cosmic timeline, and perhaps even ancient cataclysms.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. Tell me more about this grand cosmic timeline and these cataclysms. How does it all tie together?
Robert has this theory that the entire Giza Plateau, with its pyramids and other structures, acts as a massive clock aligned with the precession of the equinoxes.
Wait, precession of the equinoxes? Could you remind me what that is?
It's a slow wobble of Earth's axis that causes the position of the stars to shift over very long periods, think thousands of years. It's like a slow dance on a cosmic scale.
Right, so the pyramids weren't just tombs or monuments to pharaohs, but markers on this grand precessional clock, telling a story that spans millennia.
That's exactly what Robert proposes. And he believes this clock points back to specific points in time, one of which is the age of Leo. He sees a lot of symbolism related to lions and the constellation Leo, both in the layout of the Giza Plateau and within the pyramids themselves.
So the ancient Egyptians were not only master builders, but also master astronomers. They embedded their knowledge of celestial cycles into the very fabric of their structures.
It seems that way, doesn't it? But remember those precise hardstone vessels we discussed earlier. Robert suggests a connection between the precision of those vessels and the precision of the pyramids themselves. He proposes they were both designed using a shared system based on sound and resonance.
How can a pyramid act like a tuning fork?
Well, he claims the pyramids aren't simply piles of rocks, but resonant structures, carefully designed to amplify and manipulate sound waves. He's even identified specific measurements and ratios within the pyramids that link them to the 432 Hz and 528 Hz frequencies. These frequencies have been the subject of much debate in music theory and are often associated with healing properties and altered states of consciousness.
So you're suggesting the pyramids were giant sound machines
Yeah.
designed to heal people or induce altered states of consciousness? That's a pretty mind-blowing idea.
It certainly is, and it aligns with Robert's own experiences. He describes lying in the sarcophagus of the Great Pyramid for 5 hours and the profound impact it had on him.
5 hours. What was that experience like? Did you feel anything unusual?
He doesn't go into specifics, but he does mention that other historical figures, like Napoleon, also reported transformative experiences inside the king's chamber.
So we've got pyramids acting as giant tuning forks,
Mm.
potentially used for healing or spiritual purposes. And they're part of this grand processional clock that tracks the slow cosmic dance of the stars. What's next on this wild ride?
Robert's research takes us to an even more intriguing hypothesis: a potential connection between the Giza Plateau and a lost civilization predating dynastic Egypt. And this hypothesis involves a potential global cataclysm and the cyclical nature of civilization itself.
A lost civilization and a global cataclysm. I'm definitely hooked now. Tell me more.
This is where we shift our focus to Abu Rawash, a site northwest of Giza. It's home to 2 destroyed pyramids. And Robert proposes that the larger one, with its 60 degrees slope angle, could be the real Tower of Babel.
The Tower of Babel.
Yeah.
As in the one from the Bible.
The very same. He draws connections to ancient maps and biblical descriptions that suggest the Tower of Babel wasn't in Mesopotamia as commonly believed, but rather in the land of Cush, which encompassed ancient Egypt and Sudan.
And the Bible describes the Tower of Babel being next to the river Gihon. Robert suggests that's actually the Nile River, which was once known as the Gihon.
Yes. Imagine standing on the Giza Plateau and seeing this massive pyramid, potentially 120 feet taller than the Great Pyramid, off in the distance. It would have been a truly awe-inspiring sight.
So we've got Abu Rawash, the potential location for the Tower of Babel. How does this connect to the lost civilization and the cataclysm?
During the African humid period, which ended around 6,000 years ago, a now extinct branch of the Nile called the Aramint branch existed. It was a massive river, up to 1 kilometer wide in places. And it turns out all the major pyramid sites, including Giza, were built along this branch.
That suggests they might be far older than we've been led to believe.
Exactly. Robert believes these sites could be 13,000 years old or even older, placing their construction firmly within the African humid period, long before the rise of dynastic Egypt. And the end of the African humid period coincided with a period of dramatic climate change.
Could this climate change be the cataclysm Robert refers to?
It's a possibility. Think about this. The current epoch, marked by the North Star Polaris, is also coming to an end after about 6,000 years. Could that be signaling another shift in Earth's history? Maybe even another cataclysm. Robert certainly seems to think so.
Whoa. It's fascinating. But a little unsettling to think that history might be repeating itself.
It is thought-provoking, isn't it? Robert believes in the cyclical nature of history and sees evidence of recurring cataclysmic events within ancient myths, traditions, and even in the geological record. He proposes that the Giza Plateau, with its grand processional clock, might be a warning from the past, a warning to pay attention to these cycles and learn from the mistakes of those who came before us.
This is all incredibly fascinating, but I have to admit, my head is spinning a little. We've got pyramids acting as stargates, the Tower of Babel potentially being in Egypt, and the possibility of a global cataclysm. It's like we've stepped into an Indiana Jones movie.
And the ending is yet to be written. Remember, this is just one interpretation of the evidence. There are other theories out there, and we still have so much to learn about ancient Egypt and the civilizations that may have preceded it.
It's incredible to think that these ancient mysteries might hold clues to a much larger story, one that challenges our understanding of history and perhaps even reality itself.
That's the beauty of exploring these alternative perspectives. It forces us to question our assumptions and consider possibilities we might have dismissed before.
We've journeyed through ancient Egypt, from those incredibly precise hard-stone vessels to the hidden symbolism within the pyramids. We've entertained the idea of the Giza Plateau as a grand processional clock, even the Tower of Babel potentially residing in Egypt. Then there's the possibility of a lost civilization and a global cataclysm that reshaped the world as we know it.
It's a lot to take in, for sure. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, it raises some fundamental questions about our place in the universe and the cyclical nature of civilization.
It's like we're looking at a puzzle with missing pieces, and those missing pieces might hold the key to unlocking a deeper understanding of who we are and where we come from.
And this brings us to a concept that Robert is particularly passionate about: the simulation hypothesis.
You mean the idea that we're all living in a giant computer simulation?
Exactly. When you consider the seemingly impossible feats of engineering and the advanced knowledge hinted at by these ancient artifacts, it does make you wonder if there's more to reality than meets the eye.
It's a mind-bending concept,
Mhm.
but I have to admit, it's a fascinating one. Is there anything that specifically links this simulation hypothesis to ancient Egypt?
Robert sees the precision and sophistication of the artifacts as potential glitches in the matrix, anomalies that can't be easily explained by our current understanding of history. He suggests that these might be signs of the underlying code breaking through, hints that we're living in a constructed reality.
So what does this all mean for us, the listeners? Why should we care about ancient mysteries and the simulation hypothesis?
I think it comes down to reawakening our sense of wonder and curiosity about the world. We're so bombarded with information and distractions these days that we often forget to ask the big questions, to delve into the mysteries that lie beyond the surface.
It's like we've lost touch with our inner child, the one who used to gaze up at the stars
Yeah,
and wonder about our place in the cosmos.
that's a great way to put it. By diving into these deep dives, by exploring these alternative theories and perspectives, we reignite that sense of wonder and possibility.
We start to see the world with fresh eyes and question the narratives we've been told, the narratives that might be limiting our understanding.
Precisely. And that's the first step towards true knowledge and understanding, realizing that there's always more to learn, and that the journey of discovery is never ending.
So what's the one thing we want our listeners to take away from this deep dive?
I'd say it's this. Don't be afraid to question everything. Don't blindly accept the conventional narratives. Dig deeper. Explore the fringes, and allow yourself to be amazed by the mysteries of the past.
Because who knows? You might just stumble upon a glitch in the matrix that changes your entire perspective on reality. And for those who want to delve even deeper into these topics, Ben's YouTube channel, Uncharted X, and Robert's website are fantastic resources. They're packed with videos, articles, and research that will keep you entertained and informed.
They're both incredibly passionate about sharing their knowledge and inspiring others to explore these fascinating subjects.
There you have it, folks. A deep dive into ancient Egypt that has left us with more questions than answers. But isn't that the beauty of it all? It's not about finding all the answers, but about embracing the mystery and allowing it to expand our awareness.
Keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep that spark of curiosity alive. You never know what wonders you might uncover.
Until next time, keep diving deep.